Hello. I got some email asking some technical questions about how to do a few things in Sibelius 7 with multiple instruments, multiple voices, and a little bit about volume balancing. We use this fragment you just heard as an example. Now it looks kind of funny. I've crammed all the measures onto one page so it will fit. I wouldn't leave it this way if I were going to publish it or give it to players. First question was about accents. Do they go outside of or inside of phrases? They generally go outside of phrases, even when there's two voices. And they're always on the note head side, except for situations like this with two voices. Now the other question I got involves staccato marks. We'll just zoom in here. That's Control plus to get there. I'm not sure why you would need to move the staccatos. They are always the closest articulation to the note head. Oops. As you can see here, what you can do is click on it and drag up and down. But I haven't found a way to move left or right with them. The closest thing I found was up here in the ribbon under, let's see, where was it? Layout. In the staff spacing, go to articulation. This is the engraving rules. A bunch of options on where they go and everything. But down here, position of articulations when near the stem. You can adjust that here. You can adjust vertical positions, but I don't see anything for horizontal positions. So you may be out of luck if you wanted to move your staccatos left and right for some reason. Now, in this example, back to regular size, we want to take this trumpet part here. The two lowest parts get moved down to the staff that's marked trumpet 2 and 3, and maybe make a few changes while we're on the way. Before we do that the easy way from the existing parts, let's say you were starting from scratch. Say you're composing as you go. You might think that since it is trumpet 2 and 3 in the trumpet 2-3 staff, you should start entering the second trumpet part using voice 2 and then use voice 3 for trumpet 3. If that seems logical, then please read the Sibelius manual section about voices. That's not the way things work. Voices have nothing to do with parts. Voices are relevant only to the single staff they occur in. Since the staff name is trumpet 2-3, then trumpet 2 is the highest voice. That's always voice 1. Obviously sometimes voices cross one another, but generally speaking it's always voice 1. Since trumpet 3 is the lowest voice, that is the second voice. Be aware of this following important fact. Voices 1 and 3 are always stems up if either voice 2 or 4 is present. Similarly, voices 2 and 4 are always stems down if either voice 1 or 2 is present. And that presence can be in the form of rest or notes. If you've already entered it the backwards way and find the stems are going the wrong way, it's easy to swap voices. Look at the Note Input ribbon and swap Voices menu. Even if you've already manually changed the stem directions of, say, voice 3 to point down, you will still want to swap the voices. Here's how. Select the passage, and I'm going to mess this up. I'm going to change voice 1 to voice 4 temporarily, and then I'm going to change voice 2 to 3, and then I'm going to change 2 and 4. So here's the typical example. You get this mess. Voice 3 is stems up, voice 2 is stems down. You don't want that. So select the passage. This is the way it would have looked if you had entered it the way I just described earlier. So we select the whole passage, and we go up to swap, and we swap 2 and 3. There we go. But we could leave it that way. That would look all right. But now let's swap 1 and 3. We've got it exactly the way you want it. I hope that makes sense. Now, to get these notes down here, we highlight the passage. Oh, one thing I forgot about this, and if for some reason you've already changed your stem directions, even though it's still 1 and 2 like that, what you can do is go up to your layout menu, or appearance menu rather, reset the position and the design. There's your design and position. And everything's back to normal. So I suggest doing that first. Reset your design and position. Okay, now let's move the bottom 2 trumpet notes to the trumpet 2 and 3 staff. Easiest way to do this is to explode the items. So we go to Note Input, Explode. We want to explode it into 2 staffs, obviously. We want to go into Settings. There's several different options you can put in here. Make sure this one's selected, that way you get all the symbols and forte and accents and staccatos and everything. Extra notes, that's important. Make sure they go into the part 2. That way you'll end up with one note in the first staff and the rest in the bottom staff. I think that's the only thing you really need to mess with here. So we do it, and we can create staves, create new ones, but since we already have a staff that exists, we pick the specific staffs, and there we go. We're almost there. Next, we want to put these in different voices. It's generally considered proper to write 2 different instrument parts in different voices. So we choose, highlight this whole section, go up to the Home ribbon, Filters, select the bottom note. Only the bottom note gets selected. Go to Note Input and do Voice 2. Or you can type alternate 2 as shown in the example in the keyboard shortcut there. And there we go. If you don't like the way all this is crammed together, Control A to select everything. Layout, Optimize, and it gives you the space in between. Now let's listen to this again and see if all the voices sound loud enough, proper, and everything. I'm not thrilled with the panning, that's default there, but that's not a big deal. But the volume, the clarinet, let's say, just doesn't sound so loud. Let's look at the mixer. Type M, and you get the mixer, okay? Notice the trumpet and trombone and trumpets and trombones are kind of loud. So let's lower them down to, let's say 90, around 90. Rather than raising the clarinet volume, lower something else. So we try this again. That was pretty good. If you click on this little icon here, it opens up this part of the menu. So let's do a little harsher panning here. Maybe not that much. Leave that right dead center. Put this even further over. I'll tell you what, let's put let's do something like that. And the cello we'll put even further over. Let's see if this makes a difference. possibly better. Well, if you keep clicking on this, it opens up other options. And one little trick I found, I find Sibelius 7 sounds are kind of soft. So right here on these FX knobs, I just crank a couple of them up. And if you're listening with headphones, you might want to lower your volume. Now there, you definitely heard the clarinet. It's in a low register. Clarinet players usually don't play down there all the time. But that's, yeah, you could hear it. It was better that way. And if that's too much, you just lower these back a bit. And you can mess around with the dynamics even more in here. You've got lots of options. There's also another thing you could do is remove, let's get rid of the reverb and see what that sounds like. Yeah, so you can play around with this. Messing around with this mixer and that side of things is really a whole course in itself. Another option is in the playback menu. You have these things called velocities. Now you can type Control Alternate P and you get this. So we have playback options. So we can choose live velocity. So you could crank this up. Let's be dramatic. I think 127 is the top. Yeah, it's MIDI, 0 to 127. So let's pop it down to 100. And of course, since that staff's highlighted, we only hear that. So. Yeah, now I know I have the panning just about a little off center right on the clarinet, but I'm hearing it toward my left speaker, so I don't know if that's a bug or what. But there you go. You can mess around with every single note. There's other options about transforming. Like if you wanted to transform this diminuendo, you could go in and specify crescendos, diminuendos, and a bunch of options in here. Timings. You can offset your note section in there. There's also performance options. You can have it vary. So that's it on the questions that I was asked. I hope that helps. If you have any more, feel free to let me know.